Hello, and welcome to What the Fuck is Wrong with This World? Alright, so today I'm gonna be reading some articles for you guys and giving my opinions on them because that's a thing. This is a thing that's happening right now, and actually let me recenter that a little bit. I'm gonna drag it to the side here. Actually, let me just trim that. Okay, fine, 600. Okay, so let's talk about this article. The handling of Admiral Picard. On Star Trek Picard, our beloved Admiral is forced to reckon. I have no idea what that word even means. Is this like a reckoning? He's being reckoned for his privilege as a Starfleet officer from a planetary superpower. Okay, so this article, first of all, is from StarTrek.com. The way I found out about it was I was watching Doomcock's video on it, and I was like, you know what? I have some very strong opinions on this one, and I'm gonna give them. So, from StarTrek.com. Let's do it. I'm just gonna maximize it here and make myself go away so you guys can read along. So, Picard is forced to reckon with his privilege as a Starfleet officer from a planetary superpower. Okay, first of all, privilege, really? Just because he put in a lot of work, he went to Starfleet Academy for about 4 years. He gained reputation for doing hard work, for science, for academics, worked his way up the chain of command to become the captain of the Enterprise. Later, after many missions and many first contacts and a lot of work, he became an admiral. And now you're saying, oh yeah, this is all just because he has privilege and he's just been given this bull fucking shit. And also, planetary superpower? I'm sorry, but maybe you didn't read your own fucking source material, because the Federation, of which Starfleet is a part of, is not a planetary superpower. They're a union of planets, of 150 planets, so interplanetary would be a better word, although it's an interstellar power. Superpower, what is it, the 1980s, and we're fighting with the Russians? I mean, what the fuck? Okay, let's read the article, because this is just gonna get better and better. Star Trek has always dealt in stories about interspecies and cross-cultural interaction, and the way each franchise tells the stories is a commentary on the era that produced them. Star Trek Picard is no exception. Okay. Representation and inclusion have just as much, if not more, importance than diversity. Claiming to be an ally to marginalized people without acknowledging your own privilege feels hollow. Okay, so what you're telling me is Picard, even though he had a Klingon first officer that he was really, he had really good rapport with was some of the... Basically, they were closest of friends. With Worf, and even though you have an android who is Data, who is trying to strive to be human, and Picard is coaching him and helping him through his issues and everything. Even though because you have all of that, because Picard was privileged to be human, he can't exactly acknowledge what it feels like to be a Klingon or an android. Like, what? So, by the same logic, are you saying that people who are just, regular people, that they can't, that they can't be understanding of like a black person because they're not black themselves, or can't be understanding of a trans person because they're not trans themselves, and that the only way to fit in with those people and to understand them is to become a black transgender person? Like, what is your logic for this sentence? Picard's ensemble of writers or actors lean into all of this. Even number one, the dog, represents a marginalized community. I don't think I'll ever get through this because every single sentence is just worse than the next. Or the previous, whatever. So, dogs are a marginalized community. Okay. Sure. Okay. One of the reasons why they chose the synthetics storyline is because it's about othering. What the fuck is othering? Theorizes Dr. Thomas Parham III, an African-American communications professor and author of Healing Emergencies Open Communication in Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's all about othering. Seriously, what is othering? Well, the TNG positioned Captain Picard as an ally to marginalized groups, from Klingons to androids. Picard challenges him to check the privilege he's enjoyed through various series as an able-bodied male Earthling. So, okay, we have... He cannot... So if Picard and Melora were ever in a room together, he would not be able to talk to her because he is a male human who is able-bodied. And she's an, alien female who has to be in a wheelchair in regular gravity. Here are 6 times Picard called Picard out during season 1. Okay, that's just jumpy. Picard is finally getting old. So he is old, thereby he cannot relate to anyone younger than the age of 93. Well, Picard is used to taking care of other people. His titular show finds the Admiral at 93 now needing other people to take care of him. Can't talk today. He is in no position to save anybody. And in fact, his inability to do so results in Daj's untimely death. No, Daj's untimely death was as a result of, I'm using air quotes here, Romulan spitting acid blood on her and melting her, and then she exploding because the same acid blood melty thing melted the containment of a disruptor. That's why she's dead, not because of Picard. He should be dead by all accounts of that, because, I mean, at 93, getting tossed 30 meters across the rooftop and landing on hard concrete, yeah, you're not walking away with that from that. And, just have him wake up in the next scene in his house? Really? How brain dead are you, writers? Despite this, Picard still seems to view himself as at least a little immortal. Well, yeah, because you've written that in. We've seen him very mortal. We've seen him in Tapestry, for example, the Next Generation episode, Tapestry. He dies, and Q gives him another chance. He literally has to be saved by a god, because he is dead. Anyway, he embarks on a mission with a brain abnormality that could kill him, as Dr. Moritz Benayoun, Dr. Moritz Benayoun warns. Being agile and able-bodied is a privilege Picard has taken for granted, even after his Borg assimilation, and the lack of it becomes a crucial plot device that carries through to the season finale. Oh my god. Okay. I'll just let a huge sigh out for that and just... Picard is no longer relevant. Not being relevant is the ultimate slap in the face for high-profile people used to calling the shots. Picard is visibly bothered when a Starfleet receptionist asks for his name when he arrives for his meeting with Admiral Clancy. Well, of course, I mean, he's the frickin', he's the most famous guy in the entire Starfleet. In the episode prior to this, he was on a frickin' supposedly galaxy-wide news broadcast where they talked about how much of a big deal he was in the days of the Next Generation. Everyone knows who he is. And literally you just shoehorn that scene in there so you can have that 007, oh, I don't know who you are thing. In the 007 context, that scene makes a lot more sense because he's a freaking secret agent and his identity is a secret. Whereas with Picard, everyone knows who Picard is. Everyone knows what his face looks like. She too takes him down a peg. Yeah, she does. Calling out his sheer fucking hubris. God, Admiral Meme Face. For even showing up with a request for reassignment, calling his Tal Shiar conspiracy theory the delusion of a once great man desperate to matter. Okay, so let's see where the writers went wrong with this episode. So here she calls him off for sheer fucking hubris, and then does the whole delusions of a one great, yeah, that whole bit, which in the last episode turns out to be completely true. So, as to your heading of the Picard is no longer relevant, I would say by episodes 10 of this shit show he was very relevant because he was completely correct. Ironically, Picard seems to have thought that asking for temporary reinstatement as skeleton crew and a low-class ship was an act of humility. In a way, though Picard's irrelevance works out in his favor since his eventual crew only really identifies with his mission when it becomes clear that it's a lost cause. Oh my god. His resignation wrecked his relationships. For Raffi and Elnor, Picard's resignation had far more dire consequences than irrelevance. When Picard finally does try to reconnect with them, they're not having it, and with good reason. Well, he's been riding out his post-resignation massive pity party and shame spiral in luxurious Chateau Picard. Okay, okay, let's finish this sentence. Rafi's been sinking into the depths of humiliation, rage, and substance abuse, something she already struggled with. Okay, so many things wrong with that. I mean, I'm right now eyeballing the picture because, man, those uniforms look awful. They look super cheap. Like, I could probably whittle something in my freaking, I don't know, I could throw some scraps of scraps of cloth together and make a better uniform than that shit show. Anyway, those pads also, like, that's way oversized. But anyway, Rafi and Elnor. I mean, where to start with those two? Rafi is a junkie, drug addict, and a bad mother, and has been so before Picard came along. And Elnor, okay, so that one, I mean, I can sort of semi-see, because Elnor bonded with Picard, but like, it was literally just like one day. We see this, and it was one day that Picard was there. So, the massive pity party and shame spiral, like that just I don't even know where to start with that sentence. As for the luxurious Chateau Picard, it's not luxurious, okay? It's an old house. And he has 2 Romulan housekeepers who are literally, I don't even know why they're there, but it's not very luxurious. I would argue that Data had a much more luxurious house in oh, it's slipping my head now. Where's the finale of The Next Generation? Crap, it'll come to me. Data had a much more luxurious house. His was actual luxury. He had a like freaking holographic fireplace. Like actual technology built into the house that would change its shape. Now that's luxury. Oh, but yeah, you can't say that because in this show you made Data a synth, and you made him an endangered species, and you made him an oppressed minority. So you can't say that he was privileged, of course, because that would be against your political flashing. Elnor, on the other hand, clocks Picard for his broken promises, the ultimate slight considering the value system of absolute candor that the warrior women of Kovat Malat instilled him with. He angrily confronts Picard for remembering his existence only when you have use for me, now that I have value to you. Ah, Elnor, you are the most useless character in that show. And that's actually saying something, because everyone in that show is fucking useless. Fortunately for Picard, they do eventually both come around, a testament to their forgiveness and resilience. Oh my god, a testament to bad writing, more like, because you couldn't actually figure a reason why they should stay mad at him, so you made them forgiveful and resilient. And honestly, Picard didn't do anything wrong. He was not able to go off-world. He resigned his commission with Starfleet out of principle, and Why Raffi got fired, I have no idea, but it was probably because one of the admirals, quite possibly Admiral Clancy, let's face it, that bitch is in everything probably, she fired Raffi. Picard had nothing to do with that. And as for Elnor, Picard could not go off-world, so it was not his fault, because he just couldn't. Like, when he gave Admiral Clancy that option, like, please just give me a ship and I'll go and, do this on my own. She was not very forthcoming with a ship, so he could not get off-world. And he just keeps messing up. If Picard materializing on Vashti, bedecked in classic colonizer garb, isn't a harbinger of poor choices and broken promises to come, I don't know what is. God. In absolute candor, we see the big picture fallout of Picard's resignation. Millions of Romulans without a Federation advocate and Coat Milat without access to vital resources. Still on a return trip 14 years in the making, Saint Picard is back with peak privilege, stomping into a Romulans only bar and demanding service. Oh my god, I fucking hate Star Trek now. Like misguided international aid groups of late 20th century, Picard and the Federation were guilty of having no understanding of the ingenuity, resolve, and self-sufficiency of the people they were trying to save, says former Senator Tankim Adrev. And then they forgot about them completely. I have no idea who this Tankim Adrev is. Yeah, I have no fucking idea what this article relates to. Or, sorry, this paragraph, rather. As for the stomping into a Romulan's only bar and demanding service, he wasn't demanding service. And first of all, that was a terrible scene. He did that for the point of you shouldn't be isolating yourself, you should interact with others. That was like, to me at least, that seemed like a anti-segregation move. It's like we're all part of the bigger universe and we should all get to, get along. And also, as for the millions of Romulans without Federation advocate and a Coat Milat without access to vital resources, that's such bullshit, because Romulans had an entire star empire. Hell, like, the planet Remus was a dilithium mine that provided dilithium to just like one planet. And they had hundreds of them throughout their Romulan star empire. They had thousands and thousands and thousands of ships. And no matter how big a black hole is, or a supernova, or whatever the fuck happened to Romulans supposedly, one planet does not an empire destroy. Okay, sure, it's the capital planet of the empire. That would be a great setback. But they didn't go extinct. They are not close to extinction. There is billions of them out there. And they have resources and they have ships. They can take care of themselves. It's like as if with the Federation, like if Earth gets blown up, yeah, it's a huge setback to the Federation, but not everything is based at Earth. They have shipyards everywhere. They have... although they couldn't even get that right in the freaking Star Trek Picard show. Anyway, moving on swiftly. Where was I? Oh, confronted with this reality, Picard employs the weak defense that people in power use when they royally mess up. Of course, he never intended for this to happen. It's not until the situation escalates and Elnor decapitates Adrev. Oh, that's who Adrev is, the guy who gets chopped up in front of him, that he finally publicly admits that he and the Federation failed. Okay, once again, Romulan Star Empire, they didn't need the fucking Federation. But he's still organic. As Season 1 concludes, it becomes clear that the ultimate reckoning will be with the arrogance of the folks at the top of the universal hierarchy, organics. Despite the fact that the admonition literally breaks organics' brains, they never consider the message might not actually be for them, but for the synthetics. The notion that a synthetic super race might exist isn't in their wildest imaginings. With that in mind, Sutra's concern that organics will always threaten synthetic life is completely valid. Banning synthetics was just a way of exterminating us in advance, she says in Etin Arcadia Ego Part 1. This may not justify Sutra's bad choices, but it's certainly a viewpoint Picard should have considered before making more promises. Okay, so because he is not a synthetic, he doesn't understand synthetics and he never will, so we'll make him a synthetic in the last episode. Because not wanting synthetics to exterminate organic life is oppression to synthetics wanting to exterminate organic life. Do you see the mental fucking gymnastics you have to go through for this shit show to make sense? His friends make him a better person. I'll just get that all in there. Still, Picard has one privilege that we can't find fault with. Good friends will call him out when he missed the mark. On the Starship Enterprise, this task fell to Guinan. On Picard, it's everybody's job. Though I secretly hope that Guinan will reprise her role. Oh, fucking hell. Of course, if it's important to Jean-Luc Picard, it must be important to the whole galaxy, says Laris, early in the season. Later in Nepenthe, Riker calls out the classic Picard arrogance. And in the same episode, when Picard meets Soji's very reasonable lack of trust with a sarcastic look of empathy, and she pushes him. I nearly cheered when Troy told him he had it coming. The fact that Picard's friends can do this at all speaks to the positive character traits Picard embodied on Next Generation, most notably an ability to consider other viewpoints and a willingness to grow. They know him as a mentor. They know him as a friend. Explains Panem, who explores the bridge crew's communication dynamics in his book. They still call him out. Why? Because your friends are the ones who can tell you when you're effed up. And as the finale reveals, they can even save you from yourself. Oh god. Okay, I think I only have like one left. Oh no, that's it. That's it. Thank the gods. Ruth Terry. Who the hell is Ruth Terry? I'll have to look into her. But anyway, look, this article, I will include a link in my description. This article is just a total slanderous piece of shit that completely tries to destroy Picard even further, even though like the show already did a fairly good job of doing that. And it tries to justify that as it being a good thing because Picard is, well, I mean, it comes down to him being a white male. That's essentially what it comes down to. Because he's a white male, he cannot understand and empathize with the female characters. He cannot empathize with androids. He cannot empathize with anyone below the age of 93. And yeah, I really hope it gets cancelled. Like season 2, I know it was already announced, but I really hope it just gets cancelled right after that because this show is just digging and digging a grave for Picard deeper and deeper. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my ranting video for the past half hour. I hope you'll like the video, share and subscribe, and make sure you hit that subscribe bell notification thing for all, because YouTube doesn't do good content curating, so you will never see a notification for my video if you don't set it to all. Anyway, until next time. Yeah. I need to come up with an outro. Until next time. Take care.